identical times to 3 decimal places in Superpole this morning. Damage limitation perhaps for Álvaro Bautista. Moved into the second half of the 2022 campaign here in Manicourt, and there's more to come tomorrow, starting at 11 AM local time with the Tissot Super Bowl race. Álvaro Bautista then looks to the inside of Alex Lowes, and he is going to pass him in towards turn 15. Again, Alex Lowes in combat, and it was previously Garrett Gerloff. This time it's Álvaro Bautista, and that's what Ray's down! Jonathan Ray has come down, coming off the final chicane at the end of lap number 2. Toprak Razgatlioglu now with a comfortable race lead of over half a second ahead of Scott Redding. A rare mistake from Jonathan Ray in his second crash of the weekend here in Manicourt.
Second crash of the day for Ray, crashed in FP3 this morning, and now a crash through that last chicane, probably bundled over the curbs through there, and that tends to be what unsettles a bike through there. But Jonathan Ray down and out, and that is critical for
Jonathan Ray, who's pulling up now at the side of the circuit, so it's going to be no points scored from race 1 for Jonathan Ray.
Yeah, for Ray, that as it stands right now, we'll put him 47 points adrift in the championship standings. Let's see what happens. Does he run over that inside curve? He just loses the rear coming through there. So for Ray, it's easy to get the bike unsettled through that corner. You place so much emphasis in the confidence that you have in the bike trying to run through this section, and maybe just tagged the curb there for Ray, and that's what it was. But as it is, he's out of this race, out of second position, and it's
down Toprak with a lead of over a second to his nearest rival, Scott Redding. I cannot believe it, and Álvaro Bautista will be rubbing his hands together. He's up into second place with his 2 main title rivals down in the gravel trap.
And for Toprak, he had a 1 second advantage, and him and Jonathan Ray both down in the same lap. And given the inclement weather we've had all the way through this weekend, you'd almost think there was spots of rain with the 2 championship contenders having crashed out. As it is, Álvaro Bautista, the number 19, he must just be counting his blessings at this stage.
Razgatlioglu, unlike Ray, has been able to remount, so he may stand a chance of at least picking up something, particularly if there's more attrition in the remainder of this race, or perhaps even inclement weather. That's Jonathan Ray himself back up and running now, but Toprak's 26 seconds behind the race leader, and more than likely to lose more by the time he gets through the next sector. I'm sure we'll see Toprak fighting his way back through. He's only 15 seconds behind the first man at the back of the queue, Oscar Gutierrez, the World SBK debutant, but here we're going to see it again.
Yeah, this is coming through Imola, down in towards turn 13, you'd imagine.
And Toprak, in the end, doing well to avoid that being a whole lot worse than it eventually was.
Yeah, and Toprak would have just then ditched that before it comes up towards the tyre barrier, just so that he's still able to recover it and try and get back on to score some points. But big tank slapping moment there on the entrance to the corner. You can see Toprak there still pushing hard at this stage, so probably minimal damage done to the bike, but for Toprak, it's big damage done to his championship hopes.
Ray enters the pits, not keen to retire by the looks of things. You just never know with the inclement weather of Manicourt. You may get a red flag, you may get an opportunity to get back out there and get into contention, but it doesn't look good for Jonathan Ray, who of course is about to be lapped by all of this lot as well now. Once again, as Scott Redding comes through at the end of lap 4, 6/10 of a second clear of Álvaro Bautista, hunting him down. Does Bautista now settle into a rhythm and just say, do you know what, second place is good enough? 20 points gained potentially, certainly over Jonathan Ray, potentially over Toprak Razgatlioglu as well, or does he now go after Scott Redding and risk it all for those extra 5 championship points?
I think it's one of those situations where just being able to come away with a podium, 16 points would be a really successful amount to take out of these guys, because as it stands right now, Ray and Razgatlioglu both over 50 points adrift of Bautista, and we've been saying all the way through this weekend about how strong Ray and Razgatlioglu are around here, how big of a challenge it would be for Álvaro Bautista. He's had this one handed to him.
Well, just as in Assen, when Toprak and Ray came together on that occasion and were both ruled out of the action, their absence from the top of the pecking order really now gives a golden opportunity to someone else, perhaps the 2 or 3 other riders who you might not necessarily have been expecting to take a place on the podium. It's Loris Baz who has assumed 3rd position for the moment, Axel Bassani and Michael Ruben Rinaldi directly behind him, both with an opportunity now to try and take a place inside the top 3 here this afternoon.
Yeah, it's a real chance now for a lot of riders to get themselves onto those podium spots, claim back some big points, and when you look at the positions right now. The likes of Locatelli on the 55, this is very costly for him unless he's able to make a lot of progress, because the likes of Rinaldi, Bassani, Baz, they're all in a position to be able to challenge for that podium spot. Scott Redding doing a good job at this stage to hold off Bautista, but Bautista looks faster once again.
Alvaro Bautista's made up almost half a second on that previous lap, or made up almost half a second in the first 3 sectors, lose a little bit of ground in sector 4. Did notice a couple of spots there on the onboard camera of Alvaro Bautista, but we've had no information about there being any rain, so it just could be a little bit of fluid, or perhaps a little bit of dampness from one of the curves or one of the lines of paint. Here comes Bautista on lap. BMW since Portimao last year, with Michael van der Mark going on, of course, to the victory on that occasion. But a first win for Scott Redding with BMW appears to be getting closer and closer.
Yeah, BMW, the progress is real. We saw it with Loris Baz up there before his crash as well, and that's a really good sign for BMW with the steps they've made to that bike. The changes to make it more comfortable for Scott Redding, as well as the new swing arm, they've all helped to try and bring that bike closer to the front. For Redding as well, there's less and less reliance on the BMW electronics. They're able to just make more and more out of that package by giving more and more control to the rider. That's made a big difference for Redding.
Well, that race is certainly going to require a second watch, isn't it? Just to digest everything that went on in separate incidents as well, unlike in Assen, when, of course, the two of them came together, and both going down on their own as well. So unusual for both of them, who've been riding at such a high standard. We saw a few spills from Jonathan Rea last year, but we never saw anything like that from Toprak, even when he was under intense pressure from Rea in the championship showdown in 2021.
Yeah, for Toprak certainly is a case that it's a rare mistake, but a very costly mistake, and it's going to be one of those things that he needs to bounce back from tomorrow. As it is, an animal this season as well, so much more consistent, hasn't put a foot wrong for most of the campaign. Obviously the Donington Park crash notwithstanding, but it's been such a good effort by him all the way through, and from Ducati, very difficult to see any way back right now.
You'd have to say this has been a far stronger season from Alvaro Bautista even than 2019, and even accounting for the 11 consecutive wins at the start of 2019, his debut season in the Superbike World Championship. Bautista, after 6 rounds in 2019, was 32 points ahead. He was 31 points ahead after 6 rounds in 2022, and after
Park, whenever he injured that hand, how quickly things can go wrong if you have one unfortunate incident. For Alvaro Bautista, he hasn't